93 WMMR here in Philadelphia, backstage at our MMRBQ, and a great pleasure to welcome something I didn't think would happen, and a miracle has happened, and they are back together, and he is back with them. It would be Ed Kowalczyk and live. Good day, Ed.
Hello.
So nice to have you back.
Great to be here.
Tonight is your second gig, I think, of the tour, but was there a New Year's Eve thing where you popped on stage in York?
Yes. We did do a surprise thing for fans only in the Valencia Ballroom in York for New Year's Eve.
How many people does it hold?
Oh, gosh. I think we had 300 or 400 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did they have an idea what was coming?
They did not. No.
So what was
it
it
a pretty
billed
good
as?
idea, though.
Well,
yeah, we sent out invitations and said, come party with us New Year's Eve, and everybody kind of thought we'd play, and of course we knew we would, but we kept it a surprise, and people were really excited.
Wow. So my fascination with bands that have not played together, I asked this to David Gilmour when he and Roger Waters reunited to do 4 songs at Live 8 about 7 or 8 years ago. My fascination is, all right, you get those players in a rehearsal space, where do you start? And I'm curious, where do you start? What song do you begin on? And how does it feel? What was it like?
Well, we were all really pleasantly surprised with how, 7 or 8 years had gone by. And it is just literally the cliche of like riding a bike. Yeah. I mean, it was just as soon as we started playing, it was like, oh yeah, there we go. All right, let's go. What did we play first? We started playing some of the sort of like more tucked away tracks on Throwing Copper, like Pillar of Davidson and stuff like that. And and last night, I kind of look at last night was our first official gig back. In front of lots of people and stuff.
You were at Rock on the Range.
Rock on the Range in Columbus, and it was just magnificent. I mean, it was like really like no time had gone by. Wow. I mean, we just.
What was the crowd reaction?
Great, really great.
People singing along?
Absolutely,
That's
yeah.
so cool. It's really exciting. Do you remember what the first song was you guys did in that rehearsal space?
It had to be. It might have been like All Over You. Something we could play. We played a million times just to see if we could do it.
Because the thing is, you have played those songs in solo acoustic gigs,
Sure.
which you've been doing. They have continued to play those songs.
Yeah.
Christian was singing in the band for an album and a year or so. So they've continued, you've continued, but you haven't continued that process together.
Exactly. And, I think we were all, again, pleasantly surprised that we had all grown in our own ways. It really wasn't much to put it together. We started playing it, and I know, going out and doing acoustic stuff in terms of just raw stamina, building up, working that out, because it really is such a different approach that I think that served me really well getting back in the band.
That is. You need some water?
Oh, I'm good.
This is brand new. Haven't even used it. We're speaking with Ed Kowalczyk, and Live is back together with Ed and on our MMRBQ. We go back a long ways with you guys, and Cindy Drew, one of our legendary DJs, played Public Affection, which was that the earliest incarnation of Live?
Yes, and I remember that. We were very excited.
Yeah. And we have still in our vaults of our archives, we have a version of Pain Lies on the Riverside, just you and Chad on with our Bubba John Stevens, and it sounded great even all that time ago. And
nice.
You still pull it out.
Yeah, we're playing that tonight, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear that.
We play a couple from Mental Jewelry. We kind of try to get to every album.
So the other part of the first time of playing, you discussed that, but last night you walk on stage, there's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
What does that feel like when you kick into it? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Were you all of that?
We were definitely a ball of like expectation, and everybody was just chomping at the bit to get going. And once we got into the flow, 2 or 3 songs, we all had a bunch of moments where we just looked at each other like, man, we're back. It was just a great feeling.
That is a great feeling. And tonight will be kind of your Philly reintroduction because you were in Columbus, Ohio last night. So tonight is your really first gig back in the Philly area, and it's just across the river. Sure. So we call all of this Philadelphia. And this has been a huge market for you over the years.
Absolutely, yeah.
York, Pennsylvania is where you guys began knowing each other since grade school?
Well, we started the band in the summer out of 8th grade.
Wow.
So
Was that First Public Affection?
That
And
was
morphed into
I
Live?
don't know what the heck we were then. We were the same 4 people though.
I read something that said you'd been talking about doing this for a year and a half. So the idea that what was, a 2-year hiatus that built into 7 and some pretty intense stuff was going on in terms of disputes. I'm wondering, okay, who makes the first call? Who calls who? How does the very first seed get planted for this to happen, and who did it?
Well, it happened between Chad Taylor and I.
He called you. You called him.
We were texting, and I can't. There were moments where I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" and he would, and
but this was just sort of social in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we just ended up grabbing a beer about a little over a year ago now, year and a half ago now, I guess, in Pennsylvania, in York, and that was it. And I think that what happened was we had allowed the space to kind of healed it. It got we had settled everything we were arguing about, and as that space was there, it allowed really the fact that we had so many more shared great years than we had not so great years, and those things, and that was almost like equity, it was almost like something we had built together that was then allowed to kind of reemerge in our lives, and we just basically missed each other, we're just like, okay, now, it just felt like it was time.
I just love that. I remember talking with Rob Halford of Judas Priest, and one might not equate Live with Judas Priest, but there's some similarities in that they had when Rob left, they had another singer step in for a while, and he played a year or two with them. And then I asked him the same question: How did you come back into the band? And he said the whole group was in my kitchen, and we were bouncing ideas, and they had some very tumultuous stuff between them. And so, 4 or 5 guys in his kitchen talking, and we just said, okay, let's do it. My immediate question, because I always like to talk about every little detail in a relationship, are you okay with that? Okay, well, that hurt me, and I'm from California, I can't help it. Yeah. I said, did you talk about any of your angst with each other or try to settle those details? And he goes, no, we're guys.
And you know what? That's really pretty much how this is too. I mean, it's just at some level you just go like, again, we just gotta stay focused on what we do. That stuff's gone. It's water under the bridge now. We have so much to be grateful for, and we have there was such an incredible response when we announced this, from the business, from just opportunities to play. MMRBQ, all these amazing events that we were able to do, and I think we're just so excited that we're just looking today and into the future and not worrying about that stuff anymore.
In one interview I read that you said we all have a much more open mind and heart about how to be a band now, personally, artistically, psychologically.
I agree. I agree with myself.
Yeah. And then
I said that, and you said that.
And then in the same interview, you went on to say, all these things that we learned, I think we benefit a lot as we move into it. So in terms of learning things, what would you, if you were to recite 1 or 2 things that you learned in that process, what would they be?
Well, I think if anything, we're more relaxed just as people in general. I think that everything we've been through, both positive and negatively, a lot more positive, of course, over the years, has just all kind of.
Are we on?
Are we on? Are we on? Great.
What's that? Are we rolling? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that. You were saying what you learned.
Yeah, we I just think we're as men we're more just relaxed. I think a lot of the pressures of especially the early days of the band, and then even into the later 90s and early 2000s, and the pressures of doing a business together and all those things. Not that we're not a business again and all that you would be, but we're just our perspectives are more mature. They're just more laid back. We're still as intense about the music, but I think as people we're more laid back, and which is really helping. this transition. I think it's a big part of it.
It's interesting because you've known each other so long and you've grown together over the years. And then, you have Throwing Copper come out and 8 million copies get sold. You have overall, I think I read 10.6 million copies. You scored 8 top 10 hits in the Billboard charts. And that happened relatively quickly.
Yes.
And I remember the end of 1984 through 1985 as that was exploding, because the first gig was somewhere in 84. You played the TLA, then I think that was towards the end of 84, then into 85, you had moved up to the Tower Theater, maybe about March or April of that year, and I went to that show. And then later that summer, you came back and you were playing the Mann Music Center, which is going from 3,000 to 15,000. And then the end of the year, you concluded on New Year's Eve at the Spectrum.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, my God, what a year.
We literally we started that year just hoping we'd get on the CMJ chart. We didn't realize we'd sell 10 million albums and be able to tour all over the world and play an arena and like the Spectrum. I mean, it was just a whirlwind.
It really was. Was it damaging in any way? Because all of a sudden you go from 0 to 60, and I suspect a lot of money comes in, a lot of attention, a lot of pressure. Were you all able to handle it, do you think, in a healthy way?
We had a lot of help. We were really blessed early on with a great team, from our business manager David Levin to Gary Kerfers, who signed us, our original managers. We were surrounded by great people that helped us as best they could, and we had each other. But yeah, I think it was a fast learning curve. I mean, a hard curve. Figuring out how to be a business and how to run that and how to balance all that. But when I look back on it, I think that we were way well taken care of by some of the people that we got lucky enough to meet early on.
When you think about a song like Lightning Crashes, I read that you, the record company had said, oh, no, that's 5.5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's never going to work. And it's a magnificent piece of music.
Thank you.
And of course it works. But, there were the same people that said, I don't want to sign the Beatles. And passed on.
Well, I think, they have these parameters that filter out certain things. They'll say, okay, well, a single has to be 3.5 minutes long, and it has to get to the chorus within this amount of time. Well, Lightning Crashes is 5.5 minutes long. It takes a minute and a half to get to the chorus. There's no drums in the first minute and a half of the song. And I said, I'd love for this to be a single. I think this is my favorite song. And they said, oh, no way, it'll never be a single. And so I was really happy when that came out, third or fourth or whatever. They said, we're going to do a video and make a single. Make Lightning Crashes the next single, and I just remember thinking, this is great. I was so happy that people get to hear the song. I don't think anybody expected it to be as popular as it was.
They've talked about some new music that you might be making, and you said there are two approaches you have to songwriting. One would be like in a song like Lightning Crashes, where you bring it to the band in a basic form and everybody expands on it. One would be like, the second version would be like Lakini's Juice, where everybody's
riffing off something, and then I come in and sing and dance around.
Do you? Has anything been done in terms of new stuff?
Yeah, we have 5 or 6 things. A combination just like that of a few things that I brought and a few things that we worked on together. And actually, we're playing a new one in the set. Probably not tonight because we want to do something else. But we did it in rehearsal, and it's called 10,000 Cups. It's a great song. But that was one that we jammed together and kind of, were the definitely a bigger collaborative effort on that, like a more band song. But then, again, that combination has always worked well for us and has always given our records, I think, a unique depth, and the albums themselves able to be a journey through these different approaches rather than just one thing.
With live, it's always been the textures and the tones of the music and going through all these different textures. For lack of a better descriptive word, that's how I define it. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
I like that word.
Final thing I want to ask you, because I know you're getting ready to go on stage shortly, but I have and love and often play the live album, to best of my knowledge, the only live album, which is Live at the Paradiso, which was an old church in Amsterdam turned into a rock club that all kinds of cool people have played at. Sure. And all the great songs are on there. And the audience sings along with a passion that just floors me. Yeah. And on almost every single song, the audience will, just take it away.
Absolutely, yeah. We the Dutch fans are over the top. They're a unique bunch, and we made a DVD along with that as well, which in our mind at that time was like kind of a bookend of an era, and it ended up being more than we realized it would be for that chapter, and so it's a great testament to where the band was at that time, and we're excited to make another DVD because now we're back.
Well, I also played just the other day, I Walk the Line, your cover of the Great
Johnny. We're doing
that
tonight.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yep.
That's so cool. Oh, I'm dying to hear that. Okay, that's very... Sorry, I got excited. I'm sorry, I got excited. I love that. But I love this band, and we've had a long-time friendship with you. And it's just great to continue that and renew that and hopefully have new music from you and many more visits to Philadelphia. But my goal for tonight, as your second gig and your first return to the Philadelphia area, is for our audience to sing louder than they did on the CD and DVD at the Paradiso. I don't know if we can do it or not, but this is my desire for the live performance tonight.
I'll tell them you said so.
Okay. It's great to have you back on MMR. Thank you, Ed.
Brother. Cool. Thank you.
Instead of doing an ID, could we just ask Ed maybe his thoughts about MMR? Okay.